Are you sick and tired of porn? If so, you came to the right place. Join me and be porn free. Welcome to the Porn Free Millennial Podcast. Hey everybody, Porn Free Millennial here. It's been a little bit of time. I've been traveling a lot, so a little bit of an update. June 24th was the day I left Denver, Colorado. Right now it is July 20th, and I'm in Key Largo, Florida, at a resort having a great time. So it's just been amazing. Like, this whole journey, this whole trip for me has been incredible. You know, lots of connection with strangers, lots of connection with family. It's just been amazing for myself, like personally, just learning more about me. And also just kind of bring it back to like the podcast. It's been great for like my recovery, you know, finding meaning in my life, pursuing meaning as well. You know, every day just seems to bring more and more like awareness about me, and you know, kind of like what I'm trying to accomplish here, and like spreading the message of, you know, living a porn-free lifestyle, and you know, being open about it. So today's episode, it's about fishing and porn. I'm gonna tell you a fishing story that happened 2 nights ago, and we're gonna loop it back into porn recovery, and yeah, hopefully it all makes sense to you. But we're gonna start with the story. So, you know, basically it was 2 days ago. I was having like a really hard day with my porn recovery. And what I mean by that is like, typically I would say like the last like 5+ months I've been sober. Most days have been like pretty, I would say, like easy, flawless. I'm not, you know, really trying to look at anything or tempted to. I'm just doing my thing, living my life, you know, focusing on positive habits, right? But I would say, yeah, like the past few days have been like really tough. And tough as in like feeling urges, feeling temptations to look at porn and to like masturbate. And really a lot of that, a lot of those habits were like scrolling uncontrollably, it seemed like, through social media, and you know, just kind of like almost like anticipating something to come up that's gonna be like triggering to me, like something visual, like some very attractive woman, something like that, to give me like that rush. And you know, I just was feeling quite awful. And in the fact of like, I'm like, man, I'm doing this podcast, you know, I'm living this porn-free lifestyle. Like, I want to be a role model to others, but I'm just like really struggling right now. Like, I've been living this lifestyle on the road of living out of my RV with my dogs, you know, since March. Gone on this cross-country adventure. It's been nothing but amazing. It's been so cool. Like, just the amount of memories I've had these last few months seem like they've outshined like the memories I've had like the past few years. Like, just so much growth, I feel like. And to be sitting here like in my RV and just like scrolling through stuff, to me just seemed like such, you know, a departure from like what my journey has been. So I wanted to share that with you just because I think that's relatable. I think, you know, that's something that a lot of people go through. I've gone through it many times myself. Is just when you get in these stages, these phases to where you're just scrolling uncontrollably, you're numbing out. That's something I like to call it, is like I'm just numbing out. Like, I'm numbing out, you know, these feelings of anxiety, these feelings of loneliness that I've had, you know, just, you know, being post-divorce and, you know, not being with somebody and longing for that, just feeling lonely deep down in the core, you know, feeling like, hey, I'm not meeting my full potential, I'm not working as hard as I need to work, all these like negative thoughts, right? They're just flying at you. And where do I go? I go to like this old comfort zone that I've built up throughout time, this way that I've used to more or less like deflect the trauma and deflect things that are painful for me, is to, you know, go to this edging behavior that eventually will turn into like going to like a porn site or watching some movie, you know, with nudity in it, you know, and masturbating. And you know, luckily for me, you know, just telling this story throughout, we're going to talk about the story and then we're going to go over some like key messages. But you know, I was feeling this way, and what I did was something that I do every day, is I checked in with my little brother, And we do voice memos to each other every day. We do a check-in with each other where we talk about, hey, it's called a fast check-in. It's how are you feeling today? What actions are you taking towards sobriety? Any slips or like loss of sobriety would be S. And then there's 2 T's. One T is threats, so like threats to your sobriety. And then the other T is tools. So tools that you're using to fight against those threats. So I did a fast check-in with my little brother, and I was very honest and just said, hey man, like I've just been uncontrollably scrolling. I feel like I'm losing a little bit of control. I feel like I could just lose my sobriety at any moment now. And it was really kind of scary to me, but it also felt very relieving for me to say this. Because what happens, when we're in the depths of porn and we're really struggling with it is we hide it. We don't tell anyone about it. We lie. Telling that from personal experience, right? I told you guys I was in a marriage for 5 years. It ended. A lot of that had to do with the lying about the porn. Hiding it because you feel like ashamed about it. You feel like you're just less of a person because you've looked at this stuff. And I'm telling you now, like it's all a lie. People are going to love you. People are going to give you forgiveness. People are going to have empathy for you because typically, when we're reverting these behaviors, it's because we have some deep trauma that, we're just not quite, we're not meeting it with like the proper needs. We're meeting it with something that's easy for us. It's easy for people, for society. It's something that's being pushed in the mainstream as normal, and it's not. We're trying to normalize these sexual behaviors, but it's far from normal. It's actually something that's you can get at the click of a button anytime you want, and something about that just doesn't resonate with me, right? And so checked in with him, and I said, hey man, like I think I need to change like my environment. I need to go out. My hair was getting really long. I have like really kind of coarse hair, and when it gets long, I try to grow it long every so often, and it just turns into like an afro, strangely. Kind of like Bob Ross in a way. And it's not the best look, especially like when you're in Zoom meetings, like you're presenting in front of like senior vice presidents. I've got to put like a ton of like gel into it to keep it down, like wear a hat before these meetings, and it's just a lot. So I decided, hey man, like I literally need to like kind of clean house here, clean myself up. So I went and got a haircut, felt great. Went on like I think it was like a 6-mile bike trip, round trip to get there. So I already got some exercise in, got outside, got back, and so like right now I'm in the Florida Keys. I'm living out of my RV, so I'm at this RV resort, and there's some docks outside of this RV resort, and I have my kayak with me, and I love to fish. So it was a few nights ago, before this day, I actually hooked on to a tarpon. And if you don't know what a tarpon is, look it up. They are amazing fish in the ocean. They're huge, and they fight like crazy. They jump out of the water like 6 feet. It's almost impossible to catch them because they're so strong. They'll either break your line, they'll break your rod, or in most cases they'll just shake so hard their head that the lure or like the bait or like the fly, like whatever you're using to try to catch them, it just comes out of their mouth. And so I hooked one. It was like it was either my first or second night at this place last week, and it spit out like the lure or the fly that I was using my fly rod. And I was like shaking, like I was so like, oh my gosh, because it's been like the dream of my life to catch a tarpon. And to catch one on a fly rod to me sounded kind of crazy. When I was at this fishing shop on my way to Florida and Kentucky, the guys that were like putting it all together, like getting, because I bought a new fly rod and was trying to get it specifically so I could catch some fish in the ocean. I mentioned the tarpon. They said, oh, good luck. Like that's probably going to like break your rod. Like, good luck with that. So to me, I was like, oh crap, like I just hooked one, like that shouldn't have happened, and A, that shouldn't have happened, and B, I fought it for a little bit, and then it threw off the fly, and I'm like, oh, crap, like maybe I can catch this thing. So anyways, I was going into this day thinking, okay, well maybe I'll go fishing, but I don't know, like I kind of like want to go back into my RV and just like be isolated and just scroll through this stuff because it was giving me all this rush. Well, like I said, went out, got a haircut, came back, and that was the decision I could have made. I could have just went back in to this safe place that I've lived in for most of my life, where I go in and I edge, and then I eventually look at porn. Well, something in my head, right, is telling me that's not the right thing to do, buddy. Go out there, get in your kayak, and catch that freaking tarpon. So what I do, I got in my kayak. It's nighttime. By the dock, there's these lights underneath the dock, so it's really cool. You can actually see into the water. And, you know, I was kind of out there for a little bit, wasn't quite seeing things. All of a sudden, two freaking tarpons swim right underneath my kayak. And I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go. Blood started to pump hard. I'm getting kind of nervous. Set up my fly rod, right? And I've got this, like, it's probably about like a 2 to 3 inch artificial minnow that I've got on my fly rod. And if you guys know anything about fly fishing, it's a little bit more technical. You feel the fish a little bit more. It's not like you're just reeling them in all hard. Like, you got to kind of be technical with how you're managing, like, your line. If you manage it incorrectly, you know, they could snap your line very easily. And this is like me coming from Colorado to where I've had like trout snap my line. I'm in Florida now. Like, this is playing with the big dogs. Like, these fish will freaking hurt you. Like, they'll jump out of the water and they'll like knock you out. Like, they're powerful fish. So I get my line in the water, throw a few casts. All of a sudden, I see this flash go towards where my line is, and it hits it like a Mack truck. And I set the hook, which just means you lift up your rod really hard upwards, so that the hook gets lodged into their mouth. Right away, that thing jumps like they always do. And normally when they jump, you're screwed. You're totally screwed. They're going to spit it out. You're done. Well, what happened was it jumped. It landed. The slack line, because I had a little bit of a slack line, and this is like floating line. It's kind of like, it looks kind of like rubbery kind of line. It floats on the water. It wrapped around my reel. So what that means is, like, I couldn't reel the thing in because my line was like stuck on my reel. And the reel is like where you're kind of like getting it in, like you're pulling your line in. It helps you pull your line in. So literally, this is like the worst case scenario, because I hooked the damn thing, and in my head I was like, okay, like, if this thing like goes for it, it's either gonna like break my rod, it's gonna break my line, or it's gonna like pull me into the water. I put the rod down on my lap and I held it tight, and I started working at this knot. And it was this knot that was like not hard. It was not easy to get it out. Like, it was kind of like I had to go against the grain to get this knot out. So I actually filmed the whole thing. I put it on my TikTok, Porn Free Millennial. I also have it on my TikTok of Colorado Mac. Also on my YouTube, Colorado Mac, if you're interested. It's about like a 1.5 minute video. I'm glad I got it, because it was a really intense moment. So anyways, I'm spending this time, I'm like, oh crap, like, you can hear me in the video, like, I'm like cussing, I'm like, not now, not now. But I kept with it, I didn't give up, kept going, got the line out, and then right away, I'm like, okay, it's either on here, it's not. I don't really care. I'm going to fight either way for this. Because in my head, I'm like, I don't know if this thing's on my line. But if it is, great. If it's not, then at least I tried, right? And so I tried. Ended up starting to reel in, felt it jumped again, it almost hit my kayak. It like was literally like a foot away from me, and then ended up fighting it for a little bit more, and then saw that it was tired, and I knew I had it. So this is like literally like a fish of a lifetime, a tarpon, and on a fly rod, be it that. So ended up, you know, pulling it in. It was about 30-inch tarpon, you know, not the biggest tarpon, of course, but I mean, on a fly rod, awesome stuff. Like, this is stuff that I've always dreamed of, and something I'm like, I don't know if I could ever do this. Like, I got a buddy that lives down in Florida, and he's a great fisherman, the best fisherman I've ever known. He's only caught 2, and he said he's hooked like 16. And to me, I feel like that's a huge accomplishment, you know, something to be really proud of. And, you know, the reason, you know, kind of why I told this story and how it relates to porn is, like, again, the beginning of the story is a lot different, right? The beginning of the story, I felt awful. I felt numb. Felt like I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to go outside. I just wanted to stay in my isolated place. And how did I end the day? I ended the day with a memory I'll never forget. You know, maybe the catch of a lifetime. Who knows? I mean, I hope I can continue to catch tarpon on my fly rod. But if I never do, I have this memory that's going to last forever. And you know what? I felt really proud of myself. You know, I felt like, hey, man, you accomplished something. You made a choice in that day to say, hey, I'm not going to sit on my ass. I'm going to go get a haircut, clean myself up, and then I'm going to go catch this freaking fish, and I did. So, there's three things I wanted to share today with this. Three kind of things, like, I guess, like, pieces of advice that I take from this story that I share with you. So, kind of overall, like, I feel like it's almost like we think that being sober is like catching like this fish, like catching this tarpon, this fish that it's on our bucket list. Like we want to be sober really bad from porn and from masturbation. Like we want this to be out of our lives. But it almost seems like it is kind of like that Moby Dick, like that white whale. I'm never going to catch this thing. It's just too hard, right? But I share this story with you because it is attainable, right? It's not easy. You can't just go out there and do it. But it is something that's attainable. And like if you come at it the right way, the right mindset, you definitely can be sober. And when you're sober, you can definitely live a more fulfilled life. And you can have these memories that you're proud of and that you can share with people. You can tell to people. You can laugh, you can cry, you can you can just be proud, right? So, sometimes staying sober is like catching that monster fish, like that uncatchable fish, right? And here's three things. So I'd say like the first thing that can help you get in that place to be sober, to catch that fish, is like take action, talk to somebody, like get off your ass, right? Like get off your ass. What I mean by that is, for me in like this story, right? Like I knew in my head, like, hey, like I got to do something about this, because if I just keep letting this go, I know like the path I'm going to go down. It's that same old path. It's going to feel like exhilarating for like a little bit, and then I'm going to feel so empty. I'm going to feel depressed, and I got to start all over again. So like I'd say like one thing is like set something in your mind, like a goal. Like set yourself a goal. It doesn't have to be like to catch a tarpon. It could be like how my thing started. It's like get a haircut. Like literally go get a haircut. Go do something. Like literally just get off your butt. Get off your phone. And talk to somebody. So I talked to my brother and I checked it in with him. Because I think one thing that's like super helpful with porn recovery, any kind of recovery, is just sharing your story with somebody, sharing your experience with them and being like vulnerable and being honest about it. That's what I did. I shared what I was going through with my brother. There's no judgment there. He shares the same thing with me. I don't judge him. That's how it works. So if you don't have somebody, find someone to talk to that you can share this stuff with. Because like sharing it's like the first thing, and actually sharing it helps get you off your ass. So take action, talk to someone, and get off your ass. That's number one. Number two, change your environment and put yourself in a good position. So once you get yourself off your butt, once you have that goal, once you talk to somebody, go actually do it. Change your physical environment. So if you're inside, go outside. If you're outside, come inside. Go somewhere different. Me, what I will say is getting outside just about 99% of the time helps me. If I can literally just step my foot out the door and get my head out and just walk outside, I typically will feel that much better. And when I say put yourself in a good position, what I mean by that is kind of like with this fishing story. I kind of knew where the fish were at. I knew where I needed to go. I knew what bait I needed to use or fly I needed to use, what presentation I needed to use. So in my head, I was already kind of prepping to say, hey, if I'm going to catch this fish, or hey, if I'm going to be sober, this is like what I need to do. This is my game plan. So, to bring it back to like reality and what you may be doing on a day-to-day basis and like how you might want to push yourself towards being sober, put yourself in the right position in life, put yourself in the right places in the right environment to allow you to be sober. So if your phone's a big problem, you might want to like monitor your phone and like your phone usage and like where you're using your phone. Hey, if you're relapsing a lot when you're by yourself in your bathroom, don't bring your phone in the bathroom. If it's a certain time of the day, maybe don't be on your phone that certain time of the day. It's all about your environment and putting yourself in a good position to win. So that's number two. Last one, number three, don't give up and persevere. Be proud of yourself and freaking hell at the moon. Like, be proud of you. So what I would say is like, in my story, oh my gosh, a few nights before that, like my line, I missed one. I missed one. I was shaking. It was like, oh my gosh, was talking to my buddy. He was telling me like, hey, it's so tough to catch these things. So at that point I could have said, you know what, I'm not going to fish for tarpon anymore. It's just too hard. And when I hooked that one, my line literally wrapped around my reel, which is like really probably the worst thing that could happen. It definitely was my fault. I had too much slack in the line, so next time I'm go for one, I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen again. But anyways, I had to act in the moment. I was a little bit stressed, but hey, I handled myself with some composure. I focused at the task at hand. I got through it. And sometimes that's what we got to do, when we're struggling with edging, is you just got to focus and get through it. You got to see like what the finish line looks like. And for me in my head, I'm like, the finish line looks like me freaking getting this fish on the boat and taking some pictures and laughing and having a good time. And damn it, that's what I did. I focused on it. I got that knot out. Wasn't thinking about anything else. Wasn't thinking about failing. Wasn't thinking about that fish getting away. I was thinking about winning. I was thinking about catching that fish, and that's what I did. So persevere, guys. Persevere. See what that finish line looks like on the good side of things. It doesn't always have to be looking at what's going to negatively affect you. You can also look at what's the positive ramifications if I stay true to me and if I stay true to my goal to be sober from porn and from masturbation. Or whatever you pick, right? Like for me, it's porn and masturbation. For you, it might be something else. But staying free from the things that keep you shackled is the most important part of this. So don't give up and persevere with things. Be proud of yourself. I literally caught like the fish on my bucket list on a fly rod. Like, that's freaking awesome. And I was having like the worst day in a while with my recovery. I got to be proud of that. That's a story that I will tell for the rest of my life. And you will have that story too, whatever it is. It could be in your recovery, it could be in your personal life, but when those things happen, you need to be proud of yourself. And howl at the moon. Oh, oh, oh! I think what that means is like be unashamedly like happy with what's going on in your life. If you just caught that monster fish, be happy about it. Howl at the moon. You don't need to care what anyone else thinks. It's your experience, it's your life, right? And be proud of the accomplishments you made. If you're a day sober, if you're a week sober, you're sober for that time. Be proud of it, guys. I mean, heck, I was going through this like edging spree, going through social media, all that stuff. I mean, holy crap. It is like the world is pinned against us with how much just blatant sexuality is out there. And most of it, too, it's like I'm not necessarily asking for this. It's just right there in your face. You can go to any social media platform. If you go like on the shorts feeds or whatever, just about anywhere you go, like Snapchat, someone adds you and it's something like that you never asked for sexually. It's just everywhere, guys. So give yourself a pat on the back if you're sober for a day. I mean, it is a step in the right direction, and that's something to be proud about in this day and age. So those are my 3 things to catch that fish of a lifetime. To stay sober is really critical. It's something to be proud of. And guys, I'll just tell you this too. You never know when it's going to be that day, when it's going to be like one of the best days of your life, one of the best memories of your life. So even if you're having an awful day, just remember, hey, this day doesn't have to be this way. I have control. And you know what? You might have a day where you started off terrible and you end it, you're like at the top of the world. So guys, really appreciate you listening, and just sending my love and my encouragement to you. Stay strong. Also have a Substack too if you're interested in that. That's typically where I'll put a lot of my writing out. And that is Porn Free Millennial on Substack. So I'm also on YouTube. I'm on TikTok for videos, and then Apple Podcasts and Spotify for podcasts. But everyone take care. Talk to you soon. Bye.